my voice. I do apologize for my voice. I do apologize for it. I never warm it up. Okay, so let me just try and adjust this just a bit, just a couple seconds. Let me just try and adjust this just a bit, because it's, you know what? I really want to kind of like walk around a bit, but okay. Hold on, just a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Um, so I'm worried this thing might just topside. So I am worried about that, but I don't really want to bend it too much because my back really hurts. Okay, so I hope you're all doing well. I have some stuff to talk about because it's pretty important. So I'll talk about it as I do these reviews. So, first things first, I've been to the dentist. That's right. Yesterday I went to the dentist. It's supposed to be a filling, but then they could not really do a filling because you have to take your teeth out because there was an extra teeth growing and it was decayed and they had no other choice but to take it out. And I was like, okay, yeah, it was decayed for such a long time, but it never really caused me pain. And that's something important to point out because when they were taking out the teeth, I only felt like slight tingles whatsoever. Honestly, going to the dentist it's an interesting yet weird experience. I wonder if others really feel the same. It depends on how powerful your teeth is, because the previous time this year I went to the dentist to take a different teeth out, what happened was it was so simple. They just pulled it out within a couple of seconds. But this one, since it was lodged right in and it was growing in between another teeth, like, no, not in between the teeth, like through another teeth, if that makes sense. Like, I can't really describe it, but there was a broken tooth over here, and then somewhere on this side came a long teeth growing. So basically intruding on a different tooth. I think there were two of them, but e- even so, that was really annoying. Or maybe it was one, I can't remember. I think two. Regardless, they took it out, and it was such a long procedure compared to the previous one because the amount of tools they had to use, like pulling and twisting and like sucking all the extra stuff out, it was so vexing. But I think it was finally time to get the teeth out because it was about time. It was decayed for so long. Like, why not just take it out? So today I'm going to be talking about a couple of things, but also this is going to be a spoiler review. There's going to be a lot of spoilers. I need to mention this. I don't think I mentioned it on the freaking title. A lot of birds outside. I forgot what you call them. I think you call them rain birds. I don't know. They cry for rain. I hope you did not hear that. Okay, so I'm going to be doing a lot of extra stuff, a lot of extra reviews today, more than just these two books. I also want. Oh my goodness, they're starting again. I don't think you can hear them, but I can hear them, and and oh my goodness, now they stopped. Okay, let's get on with it. I want to do a couple of reviews. First review is, of course, they starting again. Wow. So the first review I want to do is on a movie. Now, I recently watched the Harry Potter movie. I watched two of them. The first one I watched was, I could say, last week. No, 2 weeks before. And I watched it, and oh my goodness, I would say that it's a good movie. Now, I'm going to be talking about spoilers. I will be mentioning the first book as well, so if you have not read the first book, then you might avoid this video for now, and avoid these if I'm because I'm going to be talking about these two as well. So might as well just avoid it if you have not read the books, or you don't if you don't really plan to read it. You might like this video, but you might not know what I'm talking about. But I think it's fine. You can watch it. But for those of you who are eager to read these books and watch the movies, and you don't want to get a lot of spoilers, I recommend just not watching it. It sucks to say that, but I don't really want to to squeal so much. Okay, so I'm sitting down right now, as you can see with my knee. Um, I want to mention that the movie is okay. Hold on. So this is the book. This is the book, and even so, the book is pretty good. Obviously, I've read it, I've enjoyed it, and still has a slight new book smell. So I want to talk about what the movie did. I can't remember everything of the movie, but when it comes to the chapters, I don't think you can see it. It's not. Hopefully, it's not blurry. So let me explain the chapters that they've used. So when it came to the first chapter, they skimmed a lot of it. No, no, no. In fact, they did not show most of the first chapter. Second chapter, the vanishing glass. It was about the snake. That was a bit different in the movie, very different. Um, but overall, it played out how it's supposed to. A snake's supposed to escape, so they got that pretty much right. The letter from no one. The letters coming out all over. Then you have the keeper of keys. I think this is the chapter where Hagrid shows up. Oh, sorry, my glasses just hit this. So Hagrid shows up, and obviously, that's in the book. It is pretty quick to read. How many pages is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Like maybe I've spelled so fast, but they took this like 16, 17 pages and turned it into like 5, 6 minutes. So a lot of things obviously they can't show. They need to kind of trim a lot of stuff out as long as they get the important stuff. And they did the important stuff pretty right. So obviously that's pretty good. What else? Then you have Diagon Alley. This was an interesting one, because this one was pretty much an interesting chapter. And I still remember reading it like 2 weeks ago. I remember swiftly reading it. In fact, I think I read it like 3 weeks ago. So I still remember reading it during the evening, and wow, a lot of things were sped up in this specific movie, obviously, um, which obviously makes sense. And that chapter was sped up just a bit. There were certain things in that chapter that were cut out, like Harry meeting what's his name, Draco Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. That was out from Diagon Alley. That was basically cut out. But overall, then you have the journey from platform 9 to three quarters. That was an interesting one. I liked it. Some stuff was cut out, obviously. Like a lot of chapters you're gonna get in this book. The movie obviously sped a lot of things out. The sorting hat that was sped up. Potions Master sped up. The Midnight Duel. What was that about? I can't remember. I can't remember that. I'm trying to remember all of the chapters now because I've read like I've read so many books already. So I'm trying to remember what happened in each one. But Wizards Duel. I don't think they've done the Wizards Duel. I don't think they've done that. Um, the Midnight Duel. I don't think they did that. Halloween. That was pretty much done in the movie, Quidditch. Oh yeah, the Quidditch stuff was done. The Mirror of Heroes. How do you pronounce it? I forgot. Can you see it? Okay, Nicholas Flamel. What was that about? Oh yeah, I remember. So Nicholas Flamel was mentioned. Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. That was a chapter that was so shortened out because the thing about the books is that so much happens, and you go through so much minute details, whereas the movie kind of skips a lot of stuff, or they sum it down to just a handful. And they did change something with this. Instead, they changed how the dragon went away, and I feel like that was just interesting. I think they could have obviously shortened it up, but the way they mentioned Dumbledore having something to do with it, that was a bit interesting because in the books that doesn't happen. But moving on, the movie also gives Ron detention, even though he doesn't get detention when Hermione and Harry gets detention, and Malfoy and Neville. So they kind of switch roles with Ron and Neville, but overall, um, the Forbidden Forest with the unicorn and stuff like that, they had some interesting stuff there. What else? Through the trapdoor, they did do some stuff very differently. They did cut out a lot of stuff, the potions especially. I did not see that. Um, and then you have the man with the two faces, and that chapter was there. Obviously, they did things differently. When it comes to the aesthetic of the movie, it was pretty good. Way different than what my imagination was, more detailed. Things feel a bit more interesting. Do I think do I think the movies do a good job representing the book? Yes. But obviously some stuff was just a bit changed, and I feel like maybe they had to do it quickly because they just had to have no they have to had something, or else no, I feel like they could have at least stuck just a bit more to the book, in my opinion. But I don't know. I feel like they had to do some changes, but overall, like if you minus the changes, they actually match it out quite well. So I did do a review of this book, and obviously that was a non-spoiler video, but this one is, so I had to tackle that entire topic of the book and the movie. So I'm going to talk about this book, and I'm going to talk about the spoilers, and I will also compare it to the movie. Let me leave this right now. The Chamber of Secrets is an interesting book. It's an interesting book, in my opinion. So this one has a bit more pages than the previous one, I think. It looks like it, and it took me 3 days to read because obviously I had a bit of short time to read it. So yeah, but overall, you have so much interesting stuff happening over here, and I really like how how these books have these interesting twists, because obviously I expected just the first book to only have a twist. I never really thought this book and this one to have a twist as well, because there's so much of shocking stuff coming out, pouring out, and I feel like that's very interesting. It's very interesting. Um, so okay, I like how these books start out with, the Dursleys and Harry trying to survive them. And in this specific chapter, I mean, in this book, uh, the Weasleys, some of the Weasleys, uh, basically save Harry from the Dursleys. We also get introduced to a character, an elf called Dobby, and Dobby comes in to warn Harry at the beginning, and obviously he can't really say you can't really blurt it out loud what's happening. So obviously, it's a bit of an intriguing mystery. And Dobby tries so much just to kind of stop Harry from going to Hogwarts. And when Harry goes to Hogwarts, he even does something. He even does mess with a bludger, and basically breaks his arm. They also brought in a new teacher. A new teacher. Um, what's his name again? What's his full name? I forgot. Gilderoy Lockhart. A very interesting, funny character. I like um, how much of a loser he is, and I expected him, because when you start reading about him, and especially with the first lesson with the pixies, you start realizing that hey, this character, this character is is a coward and also doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing. So I kind of expected that. I was hoping he doesn't turn out to be a twist villain. He wasn't a villain. It's just a coward, just a coward erasing people's minds, stealing their stories, and telling them, and that's it. So, yeah. Now, oh my goodness, the Chamber of Secrets. I would say that this book has some interesting moments, but also I feel like compared to the first one, I feel like the first one is obviously going to be a bit better. So the Chamber of Secrets is interesting. They basically introduce some interesting characters, interesting magic. It was an interesting twist, and and after we got revealed of the villain, I was going to be like, okay, so basically all the villains in the story is going to be related to Voldemort, because in this book, the villain is a young Voldemort, Voldemort before he was Voldemort. So it is interesting. It is interesting how they handle it, how they handled it. Now the movie, on the other hand, oh my goodness, the movie. I would say the movie feels like it's trying to rush a lot of things, in my opinion. And for example, they did some good things right. Um, they did skip a lot of stuff out. They did change a lot of stuff. What else? What else did they do? I feel like they did a lot of good stuff, but honestly, some stuff just felt pretty silly in my opinion. Some of the changes, and it did feel a bit rushed in my opinion. But overall, they did a good job representing most of the book and the story, and the end battle with what do you call it? The I forgot, with that huge snake at the end. That was pretty scary. The movie makes it so scary because in the book, I'm just using this image as a reference, but the movie just completely changes that. And just makes it more scary. Honestly, there's some scary moments over there. Now we come to this. I did not watch the movie yet, so we're just going to talk about the book. So, The Prisoner of Azkaban. So, you can see a lot of wrinkles if you look very closely. See a lot of wrinkles. So, this one is a very interesting book. So, when you read the back, let me give you a short summary. When the night bus crashes through the darkness and screeches to a halt in front of him, in the start of another far from ordinary year at Hogwarts for Harry Potter. I don't know how you pronounce this name. Can you see it? Sirius Black, Cyrus Black, I don't know, escaped mass murderer and follower of Lord Voldemort is on the run, and they say is coming after Harry. In his first ever d- divination class, Professor Trelawney sees an omen of death in Harry's tea leaves, but perhaps most terrifying of them all are the Dementors patrolling the school grounds. Oh, their soul sucking kiss. So interesting enough, interesting enough. Uh, the cover does spoil it, just like this one. The cover does spoil what's happening. Like you have the sword, you have uh, what's his name, Hawks. It does spoil it. So I feel like the covers don't really do that much, in my opinion. And this one too, it does spoil what happens. You know. So there's a new teacher, Professor Lupin. Oh my goodness, this guy is awesome. I really wish we had him as a teacher because his teaching methods are fun. I really liked how this book is so good, in my opinion. This book is my favorite so far. You know, I know the first one is introduction. It did well as an introduction. This one did good as a second book, but the twist was also interesting. But the twist was also a bit too much, in my opinion, because it felt like wow. This, on the other hand, have something of an interesting twist. Not my super favorite twist, but the book is so good. The book is so good. Honestly, I like how there's so much of build up to what's happening, and how some characters are just are just basically how some characters of the past are. The past is told, how the past is told, how different characters perceive different stuff happening. Pretty interesting. And I feel like towards the end, it's just it's just shocking. So the villain at the end does not get captured. I feel like it was mentioned that from Dumbledore that this villain, what's his name? I forgot his name. Wormtail. Um, that's his nickname, right? Um, that it might come in handy a bit later. It might help Harry. I don't know how. Maybe in the next book, because I don't know. I don't know. Maybe in the last book. Overall, as you can see, it's a pretty good book. I would say that this has to be my favorite so far because it's so good. I wonder how the movie interprets the book, because this is such a good book, and I hope they don't skip a lot of stuff. I don't really want them to condense everything into such a swift thing. I understand time is of importance, but some stuff just feel like they shouldn't be switched or shouldn't be so quick. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like sometimes you have to just quicken things up. There we go. I also have one more book to talk about. Oh, wow. I finally finished it. You may be thinking, okay, why did it take so long to finish this book? Well, I want you to look at the words. Look at this. Look how tiny the text is compared to this. The text is a bit brighter, a bit bolder, and there's less difficult words to get through, in my opinion. So when it comes to this, you're reading everything, you're learning new words, and all that, but still, you're still struggling. You're still struggling. I remember reading this last year. When did I purchase this? Around August, September. I can't remember. I wish I had the receipt. So this does continue from the first book, and sometimes I just don't get a chance to read. I think I started on this book possibly last year. Yeah, I'm just so slow with that. So I watched the movies first. The movies are obviously good movies, but the books beat them, obviously. Books are better in my opinion. And one interesting thing is that the way the movie separated certain stuff, you think that they're just following the book's chapters, but in reality they just kind of worked with all three books and kind of mixed stuff around and whatnot. But overall, the final few chapters, they kind of threw it in the third movie. However, the chapter with Shelob, that's in this book. The two towers. Now in the movie, obviously they kind of stretch it up into this big battle. I feel like they needed some kind of feature to kind of make people watch it, but obviously it's just one chapter, and it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. Um, Once again, just looking at these words, it's just so hard to look at sometimes. And sometimes you'll be reading, and then you'll just get lost all of a sudden, or your mind just might wander. And when I've read these books too, sometimes my mind wandered because sometimes I have a lot of weird thoughts coming in. But overall, it's much more difficult to read these books more quickly than these. So props to anyone who read this book. So I actually like certain parts. My favorite chapters are which one? Okay, I can't remember the exact chapter name where certain characters were introduced, but I would say that I kind of like the I kind of like um okay, I like book 3. I just like most of book 3 because book 3, there's so much interesting stuff going on. And the second book they meet Smeagol. Book 4 they meet Smeagol, and then a lot of stuff happens. But also the first few chapters of that is just so much of walking around, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just sometimes they go on and on for so long. So obviously sometimes your attention might just be at a loss. Okay, I have to drink some tea. My voice is so terrible now. I would say the first book book 3 is a bit more better in my opinion because so much happens, and it ends off in such an interesting way. I like how the book's just so different, and I like it. I like it. I really like it. I'm glad that the books are way better than the movies, and I recommend people who have time or just want to read something a bit challenging, pick up the Lord of the Rings trilogy or whatever. Just pick up the 3 books. It's so good. It's so good to just read them. And I feel like they're just a bit better than the movies. All right then. So that's about it. Anyways, I want to really conclude this video by saying, wow, wow, my voice really hurts. Fun fact: these books, you see this? I actually made a mistake with the first book. I said this is textured. It's not textured. It's just that the spine is finally starting to appear, and it feels like it's textured, but it's not. So textured. It's not textured. So so overall, these books are just so interesting. And this one, it took me 2 days. But why? Because we had no internet. We had no internet for like 2 days, 2.5 days. Like Sunday, Friday, we had no internet. I remember the morning, it was working fine. I slept and then I woke up. We had internet problems, and then I decided to start reading this book. I read the full thing and done. So yeah, it took this one took 2 days because I had the full day to read it compared to the other. And once again, these books are even simple to read because there's not much challenging words where you get stuck, you wonder what's going on, so you can easily speed it up. But if you have more time, then it makes more sense to read it in 2 days. Okay, I'm going to end this live stream. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Anything else I want to say? I don't know. I don't really know. Oh, I was speaking about this. So as I was talking about this the spine, as you can see, it's very glittery over here. In fact, even this part two is glittery. But one cool thing is during dawn, early in the morning, when the lights are off and and sunlight is peering through the curtains, this stuff here shines. It's so magical. I really wish I can show you it. Like it's just so magical when it happens. Okay, so that's about it. What else can I talk about? This is gonna be a very long live stream, huh? If I don't stop. I haven't been keeping up with Monster Hunter news. Once again, I still stand by what I said. Monster Hunter 6 would possibly be announced either September when Monster Hunter Now is officially released, and they'll talk about it possibly during the Tokyo Game Show or the Game Awards. I think those are the two big events that they might show. A lot of people will be disappointed that they actually shown they might show the Monster Hunter 6 during the Tokyo Game Show, but I feel like that still gets a lot of attention. May not be so mainstream, but I think that's a bit better. But it seems that Capcom might want to chase the West a bit more, so I feel like Monster Hunter 6 will possibly be announced. Um, Tokyo, not Tokyo Game Show, possibly, but rare chance. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. So, Tokyo Game Show, or if they want to chase more of the West, obviously December time during the Game Awards. So, here's an interesting thing. I've heard some rumors. I have heard some rumors about the Nintendo Switch successor being even better than the Switch itself, being far better. Like it. I mean, I heard it. I heard its power. It's gonna match possibly modern consoles. So I can't really say anything else about that. But let me just say that if that's the case, wouldn't it be interesting if Capcom teams up with Nintendo for an interesting launch? It's just a speculation. Don't take my word for it. It's just a speculation. I think that would be 10 times better, in my opinion, if they did something like that. Because if the next Nintendo console is going to be powerful, then Monster Hunter 6 can be on it because obviously it can handle that type of game. So I have a feeling if that's the case, Nintendo will have a strong opening. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Bye.